Hello, guys, and welcome to a new episode of Football and F1 Show. Today, we're gonna obviously preview the Club World Cup final. We're gonna talk about some transfers as well. So let's get started. Let's start with some transfers first of all. Um, let's start with some clubs not happy with something um, which was Arsenal, because after it was announced that they're gonna bring in Nuno Madueke, Arsenal fans have sprayed Arteta out on murals outside the Emirates after their frustrations during the transfer window, 10 times in North London. I mean, listen, to say to call for your manager out after to say that you want the manager out before the season starts is not fair, in my opinion. It's not fair. Listen, listen. There's been lots of criticism on Arteta because, and not rightly so, because he hasn't won many trophies at Arsenal, and he should be winning a lot considering the money he spent, the years he got, the time he got, everything he got. He got everything what he wanted. Arteta, basically in those 6 year, 5 year period, he's been managing Arsenal, and you got to say, where's the trophies then? And he hasn't bring much of them. Yes, they've been competing for no, two of the last three Premier League seasons for the title, because last season, let's be honest, they didn't compete at all. Liverpool were just um, won it in a comfortable way. They competed against City for two times, and they lost at the end due to City's brilliance as well. So it's also very good, but City just edged them towards the end. And but in other in other competitions like Carabao Cup, FA Cup, Arsenal haven't done well too much in it. And Arteta, since 2021 or 2020, since he won the last trophy, which was the FA Cup, or I know people will not include the Community Shield, but uh, he also won the Community Shield 2023 and 2020. Um, but at the same time, if you were talking about major trophies, and Community Shield is a trophy, but let's be honest, it's not a major trophy. If you're talking about major trophies, he hasn't won many major trophies. And if you're for a club of that size like Arsenal, you have to have won many trophies, especially with the money he spent. And he hasn't done that in cup competitions. He hasn't done that in Champions League as well. When they beat Real Madrid, you would thought like, okay, they could have a good chance of winning the Champions League, but they lost two times and deservedly so to Paris Saint Germain. So I can understand Arsenal fans' frustration, but to say that you want the manager out before the season starts, I think it's a bit. I think Arsenal fans are being too overboard there, in my opinion. I think you should wait. I think we should wait for the season to start and see how it goes. If, let's say, the first 12 games in, and let's say Arsenal, let's say, are 8-7 points behind Manchester City and Liverpool, and they got knocked out of the Carabao Cup, for example, then of course I would understand why people calling him out. Because let's be honest, Arteta has to deliver the 25-26 season. He had to deliver the season before. He didn't. But he had to deliver, and there's more pressure on him to deliver 25-26 season. Because if he doesn't deliver, then surely Arsenal fans will not stand for another season of Mikel Arteta. They'll be like, many years of spending money, etc., etc., and all of this to come second all the time and competing only but no trophies. Then Arteta should be sacked. Let's be honest, because if Arteta doesn't win anything in 25-26 season, he should be sacked. Let's be honest. He has to win something. I don't know. People say, "Oh, but it depends on the context. If they compete for the title, if they compete for the Champions League, and they lose the Champions League final and they lose the league title by 1 point, yeah, but okay, but you would think Arsenal have learned these lessons from the past, and you don't win a trophy. You don't win a trophy for you, like if this coming season, if Arsenal end up with zero trophies 25-26 season, that would be like from 2020 to 2026 zero trophies, and you're telling me you can't call the manager out? Come on, like, I know people say, oh, but Arsene Wenger won also lots of years without a trophy. Not many fans wanted him out. Well, there was fans wanting him out. Arsenal fans wanted him out, but I think there was some fans also didn't want him out because, first of all, Arsenal were moving to a new stadium. They had to sell their best players every single season, which Arsenal Wenger mentioned. which they sold Nasri, Fabregas, etc. And also they couldn't compete financially with Manchester City and Manchester United and Chelsea. So you can't compare that situation to this. And yes, there were some moments where you say Arsenal should have won a trophy under Wenger, and those 8 periods they didn't win was against Birmingham City, for example. But they didn't have much money to spend, and they were unable to compete with City and United and Chelsea in terms of financially and technically. But now Arsenal can compete, and you're telling me Arsenal can't win trophies. At least Arsene Wenger was getting them, Champions League football. I know Champions League doesn't do you much if you're not gonna win it, but it was getting them Champions League football. He was getting them a good profit of money for Arsenal, which Arsenal needed because they smashed. I won't say they smashed the stadium down, but they had to they spent all of this money to build a new stadium like Emirates, and they had to sell their best players like Henry also. So it's a different situation. You can't compare this one to another. But Arteta, of course he has to deliver, because otherwise, if he doesn't deliver, more pressure will increase on him. Fenerbahce are closing in on Marco Asensio. I mean, Fenerbahce have been making some moves. Asensio. There was another quality player they signed. I don't remember who it was, but he's a quality player. Let me have a go. Look, yeah, his name is what's his name? Midican. Yeah, Archie Brown, decent player. They also signed a Jaden Osterwald. They've some quality players, and obviously that's the power of for sure it's the influence of Jose Mourinho. Otherwise, why would many players go there? It's clearly those players really want to work under Mourinho. The power of Mourinho. Even if Mourinho, let's be honest, he's not. His peak has kind of finished or ended in the last couple of years. The influence is still there. A lot of people want to work with him still. And it's great to see. I think Skriniar went to Fenerbahce as well. So, and he's a quality centre back. So yeah, and I'm interested to see what Fenerbahce do. I think they should win. Obviously, I think they should win the Turkish league, but obviously Galatasaray are the powerhouse in Turkish league, obviously. But I'm interested to see what they're gonna do in Europe, because I think that in Europe they could do something. They could have a very good run. However, it depends of where the competition they play, because they're gonna play in the Champions League qualifiers round, playoff round. So we'll have to see if they qualify and go through that or not. Brentford, they're gonna sign Jordan Henderson. Decent signing from Brentford. Replacing Christian Norgard. Not a bad signing. A player with a lot of experience, a lot of background, who's won trophies, like Jordan Henderson. I think it's a decent signing for Brentford. Gibbs White looked like he was going to go to Spurs, but now it looks like in jeopardy, because Nottingham Forest they consider legal action, because Nottingham Forest has ceased all communication with Spurs as things stand. Forest believe there's been a breach in confidentiality, I don't know how to say it honestly, confidentiality around his release clause, because Tottenham's bid was pitched exactly at that level. It is not clear if Forest are able to block the transfer entirely. However, it is now expected to be delayed as Forest prepare a complaint to the Premier League. So they're saying that they didn't know that Gibbs White was going to go to Spurs by release clause, and they believe that Tottenham made an illegal approach to the player and never guaranteed permission for talks. A lot of people have been criticising Nottingham Forest for that. I still believe, and most people believe, I think that he will go to Spurs and the deal will get done. But a lot of people criticise Nottingham Forest for what they did. But if he never had talks, never had permission for talks, and they believe he made an illegal approach, then why should Nottingham Forest keep quiet? If there is something that they see that is wrong, they should be able to say it, right? So I don't know why they criticize. I don't know what a lot of people criticize Nottingham Forest for that, because I don't see anything wrong with it. If it's illegal, which I believe them. Otherwise, they wouldn't have put this complaint out. Then, okay. Crystal Palace have been demoted to the Europa Conference League next season after the UEFA ruling. Sky Sports News understands Palace will appeal this decision via the Court of Arbitration for Sport, the CAS, obviously. I mean, it's sad to see. I mean, there's been lots of rumours, whether Crystal Palace are gonna still play in Europe or not, because of obviously the ownership situation with John Textor, because Lyon were they were relegated they were relegated from League One, but Lyon managed to successfully appeal that decision and overturn the decision. And obviously John Textor owns both clubs, Lyon and Crystal Palace. So, and they so that's they demote Crystal Palace, and the reason they demote Crystal Palace to the Conference League, not Lyon, because Lyon qualified for the Europa League like by finishing 5th and 6th in the Europa League, whereas Crystal Palace won the cup, basically. I understand the decision, but at the same time, if you're gonna do that, why were Manchester City and Girona were allowed to play in the same competition, and RB Leipzig and RB Salzburg were also allowed to play in the same competition in the Champions League? If Crystal Palace and Lyon can't play in the same competition, why Manchester City and Girona can play in the same competition, and also RB Leipzig and Salzburg? I don't understand really. Maybe they changed the rules. Maybe there's something I say is wrong, but I really don't know. Let me check. Instead of creating some fake narratives. So let's have a look. Oh yeah. So people say there was one guy who said it's fair because that the Girona and Manchester City play in the same European competition, and also Salzburg and Leipzig, because those owners of those clubs, Salzburg, Leipzig, City, and Girona, got the affairs sorted earlier, but Palace owners took their time to decide. The clubs you mentioned sold their shares to the other majority stake owners in order not to trigger the multi-club ownership clause. Ah, okay. Now I understand. Because so they basically the owners, before they knew that City and Girona were going to play these competitions in Salzburg and Leipzig, they got their affairs sorted. They got their things done, whereas Palace owners, they took time to decide. It was too late for them. So I understand that decision. I understand it, but at the same time, I feel incredibly sorry for Crystal Palace fans. This, a team like Crystal Palace who've been. Listen, the only positive is that they still play European football, because when I heard this news a couple of times, I thought like they're not going to play European football after winning the FA Cup. Come on, that's not fair. So the fact they're still in Europe, it's still kind of a positive, because when I heard this news a couple of times, I thought they're not going to play in Europe, surely. But at the same time, I feel sorry for them, because for all the hard work, all the efforts that Crystal Palace did winning the FA Cup, and for them to be taken away with something that they cannot control, the players and the manager I'm talking about, it's pity. It's a pity thing for a manager and for a player to experience. But they all appealed that decision, so let's see if they can overturn it or not. And for that, the Crystal Palace demoting to the Conference League, it also means Nottingham Forest will play Europa League football. Okay, let's talk about other news. I'm going to close this video now.